onto our ambassadors program so that she can help me make sure that everything's getting out smoothly, that we're on task, on time, and that we're expanding and thinking of new ways and new things to bring to our ambassadors program. And so I'm going to kick it off to her in just a moment. But I also I was I have a I have a guest for everybody that's going to kick us off, is going to kick off this meeting. I see Dr. Rios is on. Del Rios, hi. Are you there?
Hi, everyone. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to pass it to Doctora Del Rios before we get started. She has something that she'd like to share with our group. So if we can all give her our attention, I'm going to go off camera and on mute. Doctora, take it away.
Thanks, Luvia. Marina Del Rios, for all of you who may not know me, I think I recognize some faces, but I'm an emergency medicine physician. I also happen to be a health services researcher. Currently have an appointment at the University of Iowa, but I just recently accepted a position at the University of Chicago and have actually moved back to Illinois. So it's nice to be back home. But I'm here to share with you some information about a research project that I just kicked off this summer. It's called Dime la Verdad. It is an NIH-funded study. And what we're trying to do is evaluate whether a social media capacity building program for community health workers can help with addressing some of the misinformation that's out there about COVID and influenza immunizations, and whether that can also help improve vaccination rates in the Latino communities. And so, Louis, I don't know, can I share my screen?
Yeah, see if you have that option at the bottom of your screen, and yeah, go ahead and share.
Okay, let me just make sure that I have the correct presentation here. Okay. So, okay, so hopefully you're seeing a slide.
Yes, we can see it.
And are you seeing presentation mode or?
Presentation mode.
Okay, super. Okay, so the title of the study is Dime la Verdad. It stands for Verify, Debunk, and Disseminate. This is the research team. Sorry, it kind of moved quicker than I expected. And you may recognize some faces here. Dr. Susan Lopez, Dr. Ponte Soto, both are also public health researchers focused mostly in the area of Chicago. But I also have a couple of experts on epidemiology and health science communication, as well as social media analytics that are all working on this project. The impetus for this was, we all know the problem that misinformation is. It's probably gotten magnified post-COVID, although there's always been misinformation in our spaces. But I think social media also has helped with magnifying misinformation. And we do know that promotores can be really huge health advocates, but we also know that they're trusted messengers in the community, and that they played an incredibly important role in getting communities to trust the COVID vaccine, but likewise also just with other health matters, right? And so, so what we're trying to see is whether training promotores de salud to put together these boots on the ground approaches into more of a social media intervention, if that can help with addressing a lot of that misinformation that's in social media in our communities, and with that, debunking misinformation and hopefully getting more people willing to trust vaccines and to get vaccinated, so that we can then decrease the impact that COVID and flu has in our communities. My group has published a lot on different approaches to addressing misinformation. I'm happy to share articles with the group if you're interested. So the purpose of this study is to create a scalable program to evaluate how debunking misinformation is perceived on social media, build capacity of promotores de salud as science communicators, and discern how these can lead to changes in opinions and behavior about vaccine. The study has 3 specific aims. In the first aim, we're going to verify what information exists in Latino communities. So we're identifying and evaluating the use that promotores already have of social media and how they use it to disseminate vaccine information in the Latinx community, see if that is even taking place. So this we're doing through key informant interviews and surveys with promotores from, we selected 6 geographically distinct, predominantly Latinx communities in Chicagoland that we know were heavily impacted by COVID and now have very low rates of vaccination. After that, those same promotores who are participating in these focus groups and in key informant interviews are participating then in a social media intervention, where basically we have experts in science communication and epidemiology teaching people on how to use social media effectively, how to recognize misinformation and disinformation, and how to create content that can help debunk that information on social media. And then as aim 3, after promotores have taken part of this educational intervention, then we let them start posting on the internet and seeing what kind of reactions their followers have to the content. And what we're looking for is seeing both how the information that is posted is being reacted to, what kind of engagement we're getting from people. And also we're looking at data from the Department of Public Health to see how vaccine uptake may be changing in that specific geographic area, and also how that might be affecting the rates of influenza and COVID hospitalization, ER visits, etc. So who is eligible to participate? We already enrolled our first cohort, just finished this past summer. We had 10 fantastic promotores from Lawndale and from, why am I forgetting the other? I forgot the other neighborhood, but 2 South Side, predominantly Latino neighborhoods were enrolled for the first cohort. They just finished. They started posting. So if you go on to the Dime la Verdad social media handles, you'll see some of the content that the promotores de salud are already posting. For this next cohort, which we're hoping to enroll between October, to start in October and continue through November, the training, we're looking for promotores that specifically focus their services on the Belmont, Cragen, and Hermosa neighborhoods of Chicago. There's 3 more neighborhoods that we're going to be enrolling, but probably not until the new year, just because of the logistics of availability of the trainers and also just timing it so that it can be timed with when vaccines are rolled out. So for next year, we're looking at Humboldt Park, Brighton Park, and Chicago East Side as participating neighborhoods. And basically, we're looking for promotores that use social media, whether it's work or personal use. We just want them familiar with social media, so you don't have to be an expert. We obviously want you to be adults over 18 years or older, fluent in English or Spanish. We're giving the course in both languages. And then these zip codes, which represent those neighborhoods that I just mentioned. We do have compensation for participants. We're going to be compensating participants $30 per hour of participation, and that includes compensation for surveys, focus groups, and interviews, the training sessions themselves, and also the time spent posting on social media. If you are interested in participating, please feel free to share your contact info. If there's a chat function on WebEx and you want to share your contact information, that's a good way. Otherwise, the CIMED Dime la Verdad at uiowa.edu is the study email. I've also put my personal email address there. And then you can also call our study line that's also listed there. So that's all I had to share. I'm happy to take any questions. I will close this now.
Does anyone?
Hi.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hello. My name is Pyra. I'm just trying to get a better understanding on this. I'm sorry, because I'm at work, in and out, listening. Better understanding of what the survey is about.
Oh, it's not a survey. It is a study. And the research study is basically we have this social media training intervention that we're offering for community health workers that serve as specific Latino neighborhoods in Chicago that we know have been hard hit by flu and COVID. And we're evaluating how, after that intervention, how engagement in social media with those community health workers changes, whether they're able to address disinformation effectively, and whether that in turn leads to more trust in COVID and flu vaccines.
So do you have to live in a Latino neighborhood, or?
For this specific study, yes. You don't have to live in a Latino neighborhood. You have to service a Latino neighborhood. And it's because it's an NIH funded study, and so I'm limited as to what neighborhoods we're kind of doing this with, right? I'm hoping that if we prove that this is an effective measure, which I think we will, just judging by how great the first cohort has been doing, that I'll be able to secure funding to make this something that can be more widespread and would be more available to other communities and other neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? And just so everybody knows, Yahaira, who also works with Dr. Del Rios, put her email in the chat in case you want to reach out and ask questions. And Yahaira is going to send me the flyer so that we can share out with this group as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share, you don't have to be Spanish speaking or even service primarily Spanish speaking people. The key is the community, right? And there's a lot of Latinos that don't speak any Spanish. In fact, there are second, third generation Latinos that don't speak Spanish at all. And so we're just looking overall in the Latino community, whether it's English or Spanish language disinformation, we're trying to address it. And so long as you provide services to those neighborhoods, whether you speak English or Spanish, you would be eligible to participate.
I do have a quick question. So do you include pediatrics in your sample, or is it strictly people vaccinated over the age of 18?
Yeah, so because this is the first stage of the study, we're focusing on adult immunizations just because just in terms of privacy concerns, it's much easier to say that you got consent from adults to respond to emails, surveys, all of those things. In a next stage, I am worried, as I think probably everyone else on this call is, on the trends that we're seeing with childhood immunizations too. And so one of the things that I'm hoping for with this study, if we can prove that this can make a difference with COVID and flu immunizations, that we can maybe propose another intervention in the near future to address specifically concerns about childhood immunizations.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Doctora Del Rios. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Rios. Thank you, Yahaira, for reaching out. I know it was super last minute, and I'm glad we were able to get you in. If there's any other updates or any other time that you'd like to join our group and share out more information, you're absolutely welcome. We host these meetings the last Wednesday of every month at 3 p.m. And so just reach out and let me know. And this goes for everybody. Thank you so much for making time to come to our meeting.
Thanks, Nubia. And I can stick around for a few more minutes if people want to chat privately, but I'll probably drop off around 3:30.
Sounds good. Both are welcome to stay as long.
Also, I guess more professional.
Yeah.
In order for get ready by.
Okay. All right. So moving on, I'm going to pass it over to Salea, who's going to go over our agenda, and then we'll move into the next piece. Salea.
Okay, gotcha. Is everyone able to see the agenda on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So for today's meeting, we just wanted to remind you guys that the month of September was focused on suicide prevention and awareness, and also Sickle Cell Awareness Month. So we do have a couple of resources from both IDPH and the CDC for you guys to check out in regards to that. And then just some updates from IDPH during the month of September. We did have a media advisory earlier this month that went over a radio public service announcement on congenital syphilis. On the 16th, we were doing some advertisements for the This is Public Health podcast. I apologize. Looking ahead towards the fall and winter respiratory season. And then on the 23rd, we also had a news release on suicide prevention grants for students in DuPage County. So a couple of dates to keep in mind for this month. On Sunday the 13th, there is the Health and Human Services Moms Tour, which is a baby shower with some giveaways and information. So that will be again happening on Sunday the 13th in Joliet, and we will go ahead and send out more information regarding location and time information for that. And then we also have the IDPH Minority Health Conference coming up at the end of the month, so the 21st through the 23rd of October at the Naperville Conference Center for NIU.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Salea. Thanks for walking us through that. So I just want to give another thank you to Salea, because I've been having issues trying to connect with Canva. For some reason, it won't let me in, but she was able to go in and take care of this agenda for us. So thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. So as our agenda said, our first presentation is going to be from Amelia from the Alzheimer's Association. She and I have connected a while ago. And I think we've had a presentation before, but now, they're always doing stuff. And so I wanted to thank Amelia and her team for reminding me that, they have more information to share. And thank you for making time to come today for our meeting. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lubia. It's great to be here with you all. And I do want to introduce my colleague, Wendy De Leon. She is our mobile care consultant. And as she is introducing herself, I'm going to get my screen shared so that we can do our presentation for you all.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to learn more. So I'm a mobile care consultant at the Alzheimer's Association. So that means that I provide care consultations one-on-one to individuals in Spanish speaking communities and also Black and Brown communities to see if they have any concerns about Alzheimer's disease, because sometimes, as we know, individuals don't know where to go and ask for resources. So I'm the first point of contact, and I'm located currently at Blue Door Neighborhood Centers in South Lawndale, Morgan Park, and Pullman. And I also am the lead for the promotores training program that we have here at the Alzheimer's Association. We are training Spanish-speaking individuals basic Alzheimer's information so they can share with the community members and also present. And that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. And I know I didn't share with everyone, I am the Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Alzheimer's Association Illinois chapter, and will actually be presenting at IDPH's Health Minority Conference. So would love to see you all there as well. And today's presentation is going to be quick. We're going to give a high-level overview of the work that we're doing at the Alzheimer's Association. I will be providing the program in English, and Wendy will be providing the program in Spanish. So first and foremost, the Alzheimer's Association's vision is a world without Alzheimer's disease and all other manifestations of dementia. As the world leader of Alzheimer's disease research, and the leading voluntary health organization for Alzheimer's care, support, and research. The Alzheimer's Association is, of course, committed to getting this vision accomplished. Our vision, again, leads into our mission. So the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to create a way for a world without Alzheimer's, specifically in regards to accelerating global research, advancing risk reduction and early detection, and optimizing quality care and support for our communities. So thank you again for joining today's presentation. I'll hand it over to Wendy.
Nuestra visión en la Alzheimer's Association es un mundo sin enfermedad de Alzheimer's y todas las demás manifestaciones de demencia. Nosotros queremos crear más conciencia, específicamente en las comunidades afrolatinas, afroamericanas y latinas, hablando un poquito más de pérdida de memoria, para que uno busque ayuda y recursos en su comunidad para recibir más información. Y nosotros tenemos muchos recursos disponibles para la comunidad como grupos de apoyo, que vamos a hablar un poquito más después.
Thanks, Wendy. So next, we did want to talk a little bit too, because one of the common questions that we get is, what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Dementia is the umbrella term for loss of memory and other thinking abilities that are severe enough that they interfere with daily life. We hear about Alzheimer's much more often because it makes up 60 to 80% of dementia diagnoses. But there are a wide variety of dementia diagnoses that are possible. For example, frontotemporal dementia is diagnosed, is one of the dementia diagnoses that happens about 5 to 10% of the time. But if you're familiar, Bruce Willis, as well as Wendy Williams, were recently diagnosed with this form of dementia. So we do like to give that brief overview.
Entonces, una de las preguntas más comunes que nos recibimos cuando estamos en la comunidad o en feria de salud, nos preguntan qué es la demencia y qué es la enfermedad de Alzheimer's. Bueno, la demencia es un tipo paraguas que describe los síntomas asociados con pérdida de memoria. Entonces, la demencia es una serie de síntomas relacionados con el deterioro cognitivo de una persona. Puede acabar síntomas cognitivos y psicológicos. Y estos se originan en cambios biológicos que se pueden producir en el cerebro. Y la causa más común de la enfermedad de Alzheimer, la causa más común de demencia es Alzheimer, que son 60 a 80% de los casos, y por eso hablamos un poquito más de la enfermedad de Alzheimer en la comunidad. Pero después sigue vascular dementia, Lewy bodies y frontotemporal. Como me dijo mi compañera Amelia, frontotemporal es el diagnóstico que tiene el actor Bruce Willis y Wendy Williams. Y ahora vamos a hablar de las comunidades que están más a riesgo. Las personas que tienen 65 años o más están más a riesgo de tener la enfermedad de Alzheimer's, y también depende de sus antecedentes familiares. Si tiene un papá o una mamá que tienen la enfermedad de Alzheimer's, su riesgo de tener la enfermedad sube un poquito, pero no necesariamente quiere decir que usted va a tener la enfermedad. También en lesiones en la cabeza, si no se lastima la cabeza, es importante cuidar su cabeza. Y su estilo de vida, como si uno tiene colesterol alto, tiene diabetes y otras enfermedades. Y 1 de 3 adultos mayores de 65 años de edad muere con Alzheimer's y otro tipo de demencia.
Thanks, Wendy. As she mentioned, this slide shows who is more at risk for developing Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. Of course, once we learn more about dementia, it's common to wonder, who in your family may be at risk. The known risk factors for Alzheimer's disease are age. Most people who develop the disease are over the age of 65. Family history is another factor. because those who do have a parent, a brother, or a sister with an Alzheimer's or another dementia diagnosis are more likely to develop the disease. Hereditary. Scientists know that genes are involved in Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia diagnoses. And there are two categories of genes that influence whether a person develops the disease: risk genes and deterministic genes. Another risk is head injury. We do know that there is a link between head injury and future risk of dementia. So make sure to protect your brain by buckling your seatbelt, wearing your helmet, and participating in sports, and fall-proofing your home. In addition, the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease is estimated to be 1 in 3 for seniors, again, over the age of 65. And it is the 6th leading cause of death in the US, the 5th leading cause of death for those ages 65 and older, and for women at any age. And this statistic shows that it does kill more individuals than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. In addition to the main risk factors for the general population, Hispanic and Latinos and African Americans, as well as women, are at higher risk for developing Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. The research shows that older Hispanic or Latina individuals are about 1.5 times as likely to develop the disease as non-Hispanic whites. And in the African American community, that number increases to twice as likely. The reason for these differences are not as well known, but researchers believe that the higher rates of vascular disease in these groups may make us more at risk for developing Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia. And of course, the other hard part about this statistic is that our communities are less likely to receive a diagnosis.
Los afroamericanos tienen alrededor del doble de probabilidad mientras que los personas, poblaciones blancas, de tener la enfermedad de Alzheimer's, y los hispanos tienen aproximadamente 1.5 veces más probabilidades de tener la enfermedad de Alzheimer's comparado a las personas blancas. Y todavía no sabemos más o menos por qué es la causa de eso, porque estas poblaciones tienen más riesgo de tener la enfermedad de Alzheimer's, pero tal vez puede ser por su forma de vida, como dije anterior, si tienen enfermedades como la diabetes, el colesterol alto y otras cosas de estilo de vida.
Thanks, Wendy. So part of our goal in connecting with you all today is to talk about not only what is Alzheimer's disease and dementia, what does it look like in our communities, but to talk about how we're working with organizations to help fight this disease. So the aging, and many of you know this, of our population means that there's also an unprecedented and growing number of people that require care and support for living well with a dementia diagnosis, and the most difficult challenge many families will ever face. Too few of them have information and resources to live their best possible life today and to plan for tomorrow. So you can help us in realizing this vision of a world without Alzheimer's and dementia in a few different ways. The association has a wide variety of volunteer opportunities that as an individual you would be able to sign up for, whether you want to be an advocate, an Alzheimer's Association representative, community educator, or becoming a promotora with the Alzheimer's Association. You can also start your own fundraising team. Of course, as an organization, you can participate in our Walk to End Alzheimer's, which our season is happening right now, as well as attending other education programs like this. We often talk about in our education programs the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's and dementia, healthy living for your brain and body, as well as many others. And last but not least, you all can help us in making sure that each family is able to have access to our free resources, which is our 24/7 helpline, available in over 200 languages and monitored by master level social workers. Our website also has a wide variety of resources on it as well, including some of the latest research about the disease. And of course, as I mentioned previously, our education programs that we do, support groups that we have, and other caregiving resources.
En el futuro, en unos pocos años, vamos a tener muchas personas que van a entrar a la tercera edad y nosotros estamos preparados en los hospitales, en clínicas para el número de gente que va a tener esta tercera edad. Entonces necesitamos su ayuda para también combatir la enfermedad de Alzheimer's. Usted puede ser parte de nuestras oportunidades de voluntarios. Puede ser un defensor o representante de la estación de Alzheimer's. Un representante se va con nosotros a los a eventos comunitarios como Feria de Salud y otros eventos que hay. Y también puede ser un promotor de la Alzheimer's Association, donde puede dar información en su comunidad en español. Puede ayudar a sus vecinos, brindar educación o un grupo de apoyo. También tenemos un grupo de apoyo en español. Y también tenemos ensayos clínicos, otros estudios de investigación. Y como una organización o un grupo de empresa, puede ser parte de nuestro equipo de Walk to End Alzheimer's. En la temporada de las caminatas es este tiempo. Tenemos muchas caminatas. Tenemos la de Soldier Field, como hace unas pocas semanas. Puede ser un equipo para caminar. Y también tenemos recursos para ustedes y su familia. Tenemos nuestra línea de ayuda que está disponible 24/7. Cualquier persona puede hablar cualquier hora y cualquier tiempo y va a hablar con una persona de nivel maestría que le puede platicar con usted paso a paso cómo ayudarla. Por ejemplo, una llamada común es: mi ser querido no se quiere bañar, ¿qué puedo hacer? Entonces esta persona va a estar con usted platicándole, dándole consejos y qué puede ser. Y también tenemos nuestro sitio web que es alc.org. Tenemos todo el sitio web se convierte en español. Hay un botón en el lado derecho que se convierte todo el sitio web en español. Y también tenemos más apoyo y recursos para el cuidado de la familia.
Thank you, Wendy. So I know Wendy and I just mentioned a few of our resources. Again, our 24/7 helpline is one of the best resources that families can have. We do have the free education programs, as Wendy and I mentioned again, as well as an additional resource called the Community Resource Finder. This was developed in collaboration with AARP, and it shows all of the resources that an individual has based on their zip code. So we often will ask organizations that we are working with to make sure that their services are on our Community Resource Finder by filling out the application on the Community Resource Finder, so that way individuals can see what is in their area. The Community Resource Finder is also used by our helpline to identify additional local resources for families who call in.
Acabamos de hablar de la línea de ayuda y la educación que tenemos en nuestro sitio web, pero tenemos otro recurso que se llama el Community Resource Finder en inglés, que es buscador de recursos comunitarios de la Alzheimer's Association. Con este sitio web, si uno está buscando, por ejemplo, un grupo de apoyo en su necesidad, uno puede poner su área postal, código postal, y le encuentra a grupos de apoyo que están cerca de usted. Y también, si está interesado como una organización, estar en nuestro buscador de recursos, puede hacer una aplicación en la internet para estar ahí. Eso es un recurso bien importante porque también lo usa nuestra línea de ayuda cuando está ayudando a una persona en el teléfono.
Thank you. Y gracias.
Gracias. Gracias.
Thank you so much to you both. I'm so grateful, and thanks for raising awareness and for the work that you do. Gracias por la presentación en español también. I wanted to ask our ambassadors if anybody has questions. You can put them in the chat. You can come off mute and chat with us. And we'll take about a minute or two to see if we have questions. While we're waiting on questions, I actually saw somebody from your team today. I was at a health fair downtown, and I saw the table, and I don't know who was there. I didn't get to see who was there, but I saw the table as I was leaving. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm glad you all are out here doing the same work.
We are. We go everywhere. And we cover the country. I cover the state. Wendy is mostly in the Chicagoland area. Tomorrow we'll be at the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's Business Expo.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so we last year we were able to reach 31,000 individuals across the state. And this year we have a very challenging goal to reach over 40,000 individuals. So we are really trying hard to spread the news and awareness of our work. So it's great to be here with you all.
Yeah, well, you can add all 1,100 of our ambassadors because we'll share out your information. This presentation is being recorded, so we'll send that out to all of our ambassadors. And if all of them takes a couple of minutes to watch it, then you have all those numbers for your account. So again, thanks again, for to both of you for making time to be here and to chat with us about what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Oh, awesome. Maureen in the chat says, thanks. I wanted to share that 2 of our CHWs were trained by ALS, IDPH, IPHA to facilitate support groups for caregivers of those with dementia. I will share the flyer. Awesome. Thank you so much, Maureen. Yes, please share resources related to Alzheimer's or your trainings or whatever you're doing, so that I can then reshare with a larger group as we publish our newsletter every month. So thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next presenter, and our final presenter for today is actually my colleague, Jim Leach. Jim is our public information officer, one of our public information officers here at IDPH, but he does our awesome podcast. And so I asked him to come and talk to us about what these podcasts are, what they look like, and how you can access them. Jim, take it away.
Lubia, thank you, and thanks so much for giving me the opportunity here to speak to this tremendous group of ambassadors, and thank you all for your service in advancing the cause of public health here in Illinois. As Lubia mentioned, I'm a public information officer, one of 2 that we have at IDPH. I'm based in Springfield. I've been with the department for a little more than a year, but prior to that, I spent nearly 30 years in radio in Springfield. I worked as a news director, program director, and a local talk show host. That gave me the opportunity to get to interview a lot of interesting people. Over the years, I'd spoken with 6 Illinois governors, a number of U.S. senators and members of Congress, a state senator who eventually went on to some bigger things by the name of Barack Obama, my personal favorite, Weird Al Yankovic, and a few others as well over the years. And now I get to use some of those skills in my role as the host and producer of the IDPH podcast, which is called This is Public Health. I'll briefly share my screen here so that you can see a little bit of how this looks when we are on YouTube, one of the platforms that we're on here, and you can see our whole list of the episodes that we have done since launching this back in April. That was as part of our 30 Days of Public Health initiative, where we were looking to educate the public at large on the wide and diverse offerings that we have at the Illinois Department of Public Health. After we got started there weekly during that month of April, we now produce new episodes twice a month, and we've had a wide range of topics, including mental health, tick-borne illness, firearm safety, lead exposure and other environmental health threats in homes, immunizations, and more. Our planned future topics include breast cancer awareness, of course, here in the month of October. That episode will be dropping next week. Very timely to have the Alzheimer's Association, because we're also doing one on Alzheimer's awareness in the next couple of weeks. One of our guests there will be the Illinois Lieutenant Governor, Juliana Stratton. We're very excited to have her participation in that. We'll be looking at rural health and others. But as I'm sure you all know, the potential topics are endless as the issues that encompass the world of public health. I'll stop sharing my screen here and talk just a little bit more, and I will share some links here in just a moment in the chat. I approach these podcasts the way I used to approach interviews on my radio show, trying to think of what the average listener would want to know about these topics and then talking with knowledgeable people about them. Many of our guests come from within IDPH, but a number also come from outside organizations. I'm putting my email in the chat right now and would love to hear from anyone if you have topics that you know your constituencies would be interested in, or if you know of a guest that would be a good person to talk to on our program. Would love to hear from you about that. And if you haven't heard our podcast yet, I would encourage you to check it out. I'll momentarily put in the links for our YouTube page. We have an IDPH YouTube page. Even though these are audio podcasts, we do post every episode on YouTube with a suitable graphic. They're also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And again, I'll put those links there. You can also find them through the IDPH social media channels. And when you do come across an episode that interests you or you think would interest your stakeholders, we would ask you if you have the opportunity to please share it. We think it is a valuable platform to share more of the story of public health in Illinois, and the more we can spread that word, the more effective it will be. And while I'm getting those links together, I'd be happy to take any questions anyone might have. If you'd like to know more about this, I'd also love to hear if any of you are doing your own health-related podcasts or know of associations in your area that are, because we'd like to help amplify those as well.
Awesome, Jim. Thanks so much. Anybody have questions, suggestions? Awesome. I had an idea as Dr. Del Rios was speaking, because like she was speaking and has this study on mis and disinformation and how it's affecting, public health efforts. So maybe there's something there.
No question, something we've definitely talked about. And in fact, we have talked about it in the context of when we did the immunizations episode a few weeks back. And of course, in talking about respiratory illnesses just very recently. And we had quite a bit of focus on combating misinformation and making sure that people have the facts. So yeah, that's always sort of a subtext for a lot of the things that we're doing here on this podcast.
For sure. Thank you so much, Jim. Anybody have questions? Oh, I see one in the chat. I see from Monica. She says podcast topic on diabetes. And then one from Angelica. Is the podcast only in English at this moment?
First, to the podcast topic on diabetes, it is actually on our calendar for November, which is the Diabetes Awareness Month. So I'll be hopefully recording that in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be posting that in early November. As for the podcast only in English at this point, unfortunately, yes, we would love to expand that. I don't know that we can pile too much more on Lubia's plate to ask her to be the host for a Spanish language version of our podcast. But we would obviously love to be able to expand that out and to reach those audiences. We have certainly tried to step up our efforts to get more public service announcements and similar programming into Spanish language radio stations who've been very cooperative and helpful in airing those for us. And so that is our goal, to continue to expand that in every way we can.
Awesome. Thank you. I do see another comment from Hannah. American Sign Language access could be important as well.
It's a great idea, and we are looking to branch this out. As I said, right now this is audio only with captioning, obviously available for that. But we are looking to potentially branch out into video podcasts, and if there is a way to incorporate that into it, that's a terrific suggestion. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions for Jim? And again, Jim put his email in the chat. It's actually james.leach@illinois.gov. If you have any topics or any ideas that you think about later on, please feel free to shoot Jim an email. You can also send me and I'll pass it along gladly. Great. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate you making time. We'd love to have you back if you have any other information that you want to share or just any other topics that are relevant for our group.
Thank you, Lubia.
Yep, thanks. Alrighty, we have finally reached the last part of our agenda, which is the share out that I have. So actually, to Jim's credit and to our other public information officer, Mike Claffey's credit, I asked them to create a frequently asked questions, right, an FAQ on the fall respiratory virus season. So I'm actually going to share with you all a preview as we're still kind of finalizing the details. But okay, let's see. Let me just wait till all these. Okay, great. Okay, so we've been getting a lot of questions around like what's going on with COVID, what's going on with the flu, should I get the COVID vaccine, when do I get it, right? So we've kind of compiled all these questions and we've created this respiratory virus season frequently asked questions document. These are the most common questions that we've gotten around, for example, how can I get tested to find out what virus I might have, right? And so it gives you some information and then some tips about what you can do if you have that concern, right? How do I protect myself and my family from respiratory viruses? Again, tips and information. And then at the bottom, just some more questions, right? So where can I get shots, right? And that's the big question. Where can I get COVID shots? What is the new COVID shot, right? Why should I get the vaccine if I've gotten COVID before and didn't get that sick, right? So these are big questions that are out in the community and that we recognize we need to respond to. So again, we put this document together, and I'm actually in the process of translating it to Spanish to make sure that it's more widely available, right? But I need your help. If you all know of other languages that we should translate this to, we have the ability to send off this document to get translated in other languages. My only ability is to translate it into Spanish, but if anybody else has a need for it in different languages, let me know, let us know so that we can get that done and taken care of. The other thing is that this document is not going to live solely with us. This is a community document. This is for everybody in the state. And so what we'll do is we'll have it on our website so that you can access it. We'll also share it out via email. We'll put it on our newsletters, wherever you think it needs to go to get it into your hands so that you can then pass it off to other folks in your community. I see some comments in the chat. Let's see. Mandarin, Urdu, and Swahili. Thank you. Zantra says, my organization provides vaccine clinics and a home vaccine program. I can share the links. I think Polish and Arabic would be good to have, and also French. Awesome. These are wonderful suggestions, and these are definitely within our capabilities. And so what I'll do is I'll put in the request to get these documents translated so that we can get them in multiple languages, again, on our posted on our website. And we'll try to do some social media so that we can get the word out even further. Sujin says Korean. Thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm actually going to copy paste. Let's see, copy, and I'm going to paste all of these notes so that I keep track of everything that we talked about today. Awesome, great. Awesome. If you have any more notes, any more ideas, any other languages that you think we should cover, again, you can put it in the chat. We're almost at time, but you can put it in the chat, or you can send me an email, and then we'll communicate in that way. And now that we have Saleha on board, I'm really, really excited because we'll get to cover so much more, and we'll get to do and mobilize this program a lot more. With that, I want to say thank you again for everybody. For your time, for your attention. Thank you for sharing out the resources that we share with you all here. If you have any ideas for any other activities that we need to do, we're actually putting together a survey. Saleha and I are working on getting a survey together to gather your thoughts, your ideas of where you want this program to go. And so just look out for that. We'll probably debut it maybe in the new year. So make sure that, you stick around with us. We are going to go through the end of the year. I know that I'm also supposed to plug the Minority Health Conference that is coming up. And actually, if you give me a moment, I will pull up the website for you all to register. IDPH Minority. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to share my screen one more time. to share this information. So the registration is available, and you, as you heard from Amelia, they'll be there at the conference. They'll be presenting. You can view the schedules, including the pre-conference workshop, at continuing education, if that's applicable to you, speakers, calls for abstracts that I think are still ongoing, and then just information on how to register. I will be there. I'm excited to see many of you, and I'm really, really looking forward to the conversations based off of last year's. If you weren't there, you missed a great speakers sessions, and I think it's really worth considering. And for those of you in the Chicago/northern part of the state, it's a lot easier to get to, right? A lot of our conferences tend to be further south, quote, south of the north or the Chicagoland area, but this one's closer to us, and so make sure that you put it on your radar and that you share as well. And again, as always, we'll share out the recording for this meeting via email, and we're also going to shift to sharing out the information that's shared in our meetings to our newsletter, right? So if you are like, what are you talking about? What is this newsletter? Don't worry. We're updating our email list to making sure that everybody here and that everybody who wants to receive the newsletter is getting it, and that you all get the same information so you can act and share with your communities. Okay. With that, I will say thank you again. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again at the end of this month, at the end of October, for our October meeting. And then we'll share out again more presenters, more information, and we'll get the agenda to you a little bit sooner than actually at the meeting. But thanks again. We'll be in touch, and we'll see you again at the end of October. Thanks. Take care.